5 of 5 in the red zone. What do you think led to that success?
Well, I mean, I would say we were 4 for 5, probably, honestly. I mean, we went 3 and out and we got a field goal, which was awesome. You know, our field goal unit delivered there. So the way I viewed it in my mind, even though statistically, you know, sometimes the stats don't always paint the picture, but not to take away from the fact that we were able to score, take advantage, and play complementary football when the defense, you know, they gave us the field position they did, and they created the turnovers. That we were able to, as difficult as it was and as long as it took to get in there, we got in there, and that was huge for the game. So we were really proud of that.
You know, what was obviously his most important road test of the year so far? Were you impressed with Tom as able to stay poised and calm and even like move protection around when he needed to?
I continue to be impressed with that, with his poise and playing within the system. And I think he's just done a really good job of just letting the game come to him. And he made some really critical plays. I mean, two scramble completions were a huge part. Well, we don't score touchdowns without the scramble reaction and the plays that he made with his legs. That's football. That's the way the game unfolds. You very seldom get a throw, you know, just off rhythm and timing. You have to move a lot. But those 2 particular plays were really critical for us. And so, you know, just like the other games that he's played, you know, there's obviously a few things that we'd like to do differently and do over, but all in all, the way he has competed and led our team and led our offense, we've been really pleased with.
Are you surprised by how quickly the 2 of you have been able to work together so closely?
Well, I mean, not really. Not really. You know, I think he's been through a lot of different coaches. I've been through different quarterbacks, you know, and just I think sometimes when you're relational and you get to know a guy in a quick hurry and you surround him with good players and good coaches, good things can happen. And I think he's been a perfect fit for what we've been trying to do offensively. You know, I think that's really the root of it. Like what we ask him to do and what we want our guy to do. It's really been I think a really good deal for us for both him and for us. And so. I enjoy coaching him and the other guys too. I mean, Art and Ryan and those guys. I mean, we got a great room, but Tommy in particular is the one we talk about because he's the one that's on the field. But we're starting to understand each other in every game, and every time we go to a battle together and come out, we start understanding each other more and more.
Coach, is the Iowa defense unique to what you'll face this year with their cover 2, the way they play, and what are some challenges game planning for that?
Well, I think it's kind of a classic case of they know their system so well, been doing it for so long. They've got, you know, all the answers loosely similar to Chattanooga in the structure, you know, but obviously a whole different scale when you're talking about players and physicality and those types of things, you know. But the challenges there are created, I think, for you know, each unit creates its own difference. Sometimes when you play somebody that's all over the place, that creates challenges because you don't really know where they're going to be sometimes, you know. I mean, that puts some stress on you. Then sometimes as a coach you say, well, I wish I just knew where they were going to be. Well, now you know where these guys are going to be for the most part. And the greatness of their defense comes from the fact they know their system so well, and they know the answers and the checks and the chess match part of things. So that creates a really unique challenge for us this week.
It seems to me when Tommy's kind of on and feeling it, it's like kind of an outward dislike you maybe feel like you can see. Is that a fair assessment? And if so, like, is there anything you notice where like, Tommy's kind of in his zone here?
Well, I mean, I don't really pay attention to that as much. You know, I don't watch his body language a lot. In between series, we certainly do. And he's never really changed to me. I mean, but you go back and watch the game film, and you'll see some emotional reactions that looks like what you would want it to look like for the leader of your team. And so I love that about him, the way he's engaged, the way he celebrates, the way he participates in the game. When I say participate, we know what I mean by that. Like, you know, he's engaged in the game. He's talking to the guys. He's talking to the line. He's looking at the play clock. He's getting signals, you know, communicating. He's doing all the things that a quarterback does. And you can tell that he's seasoned and he's veteran, and he's a veteran player. And so it's fun to watch the game film. When you win, you know, to see him react and those things I missed during the game when I'm focused on maybe my call sheet or the next thing that's going on. He likes playing, and I think our guys like being in the huddle with him or at the line, whatever that is, you know.
After the game, Brett had said that I think it was at halftime. He told you to keep going with the running game, that it was going to come through, it was going to pop, and it did. Did you need that in that moment? How much did you need that, or did you sense, yeah, we're on the right track here and it's going to change if we just keep going at it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first half was tough. And we knew it was going to be tough sledding anyway. I mean, we knew the caliber defense we were playing, and you just had to be patient. There was going to be some 2-yard runs and 1-yard run and 3-yard runs, and our hope was that we would wear them down a little bit to where a 3-yard run turned into 6, and then potentially, hit a home run. And I think that was all of our mindset, was like eventually we're going to get one that's going to rip the game open a little bit, or at least he's going to rip a run that potentially could break open. And I think we all, when he did that, that was all it wasn't a sense of finality, but I think we all felt when that run ripped off, like, okay, well, this thing's about to happen, and that was fun for everybody to see and to celebrate. To have a run like that was huge for us to break the game open.
When you got hired, what were your main initial impressions of Chase? Just maybe watching the film, trying to figure out what you had, in running back.
Well, I knew that that we had a running back room that had talent, and not just Chase. Obviously, what Josh did, and I knew Reggie, and I knew Chase Hayden from from my time at Arkansas. We coached him there, and so I knew that there was some running back talent, and I've just been really impressed with him from the get-go. He was one of the guys I called. I think the first day I got hired, I had called a handful of guys in the first few days to connect with them. Tommy was one of them. Art, some of the guys that were returning, I'd called, and he was phenomenal. And he had already done his research a little bit on me, I think, and knew that we had some success running the ball at UTSA with a back that had done pretty well. So we had a good conversation about that. Just from that moment on, it's been, nothing but he's been all eyes and ears. And that's how he is with all of us, with Coach B, with Corey, with any coach that offers any advice. And he's a sponge, and just been super impressed with him. I mean, at halftime, I looked to him specifically at halftime the other day and just said, hey, look, like just be patient and just let the game, let the game come to you. Like, and not that he wasn't, because I didn't see any signs of that. It was kind of more like, hey, I know you hadn't gotten going yet. And he was like, Coach, like I'm going to do whatever I got to do to help us win, And he didn't even flinch. And I wouldn't have expected anything less, but nonetheless, it was really refreshing to hear your star player, one of your star players, who is the nation's leading rusher, who probably had 10 yards at halftime. I don't even know what he had. I don't know, not many. And he was like, Coach, whatever we got to do. He was all into it for us. And then to get him going the second half was awesome.
Everything that happened to him, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, was there anything that in particular that maybe just popped off his film? I mean, last year was a little strange. He had some injuries early, like 2 monster games. It was a little up and down.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of studying, to be honest with you. I didn't look back behind that curtain a whole lot. And just a few little, maybe some like YouTube clips I'd seen. I knew he was quick. And so that's what stood out to me since I've had him, is his quickness and his suddenness and his open field speed. That showed up several times the other day. That was nice I think we all knew once he broke through there he was going to finish it, But I didn't really study that a whole lot. I wanted to kind of formulate my own opinion on all the guys. And so that was kind of my strategy.
Coach, what did you see from the pass protection? I know Tommy was sacked 3 times. That seemed like that was really the only 3 times he was under serious pressure.
Yeah, we actually I thought our line did a really nice job, in particular on 19, who's I would say an elite pass rusher. I thought Palcho did a really nice job in his opportunities there. I thought we handled that pretty well for the most part. And to be honest with you, the times they got to us, it was an internal communication issue. It wasn't really a physical type deal, which doesn't matter which way, if they're physical or mental. I mean, they're we got to get them cleaned up. Can't happen. But I was pleased with that, other than the miscommunications we had that are huge, that we got to get cleaned up, that cost us potential opportunities to stay on the field on 3rd down.
I'm sorry.
You're great.
Are there some guys that you've seen improved over the course of those 5 games protecting the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of them have. I think just, you should be getting better this time of year, and we certainly are across all positions. And up front, I think a consistent lineup and communication and getting in games together is just going to strengthen that. Isaiah continues to do well. I thought Zai played better the other day. I thought he stepped up and played a better game. And Pilstrom was really critical for us the other day, the way he played and carried himself. So they've all had their moments, and we're going to need all 5 of them to be at their best. 6 of them, really, that have been playing with Jordan. All 6 of those guys to be at their best on Saturday.
As corny as this might sound, with everything he went through at Syracuse and the punishment he took, was there an emphasis in the preseason to make football fun again for Tommy? Because in the postgame, he always says, I just want to concentrate on having fun and not worry about so much the X's and O's and what I'm supposed to be doing out there.
Well, the fun is in the winning, I mean, that's where fun is. I mean, football, and I say that tongue in cheek, winning makes everything, it makes it a whole lot more fun. So I think that's been positive for everybody, in particular him. I don't know if there was an emphasis on that, but I think the way we go about doing things, the culture that Coach B has laid out, and the way that we go about doing things as a staff, I'm not saying we're doing anything extraordinary or altogether unique from other people, but I'm saying, we treat people the right way. Coach, we treat people, that doesn't mean we don't push them and demand from them, but we treat people the right way. We've got a healthy culture, and within a healthy culture, I think all guys can enjoy their experience. Now, obviously going on the road and winning a game like that enhances that factor of it, but I see Tommy enjoying what he's doing, right? To practice every day, the people around him, and he's just an example or a microcosm, I think, of our organization.
Barry, Brett talked last week about how when he was out of the college game, he kind of figured out how he wanted to adapt to when he got this opportunity again, and your offense seems like part of that. How have you seen him kind of evolve with his approach to offense through the years?
Well, I think that was probably on display Saturday to some degree. I just can't reinforce enough, reiterate enough, just how empowering he's been to me from just a philosophical standpoint. And we were in the locker room before, right before kickoff. It was just him and I talking, and it was just like we were just kind of even talking about how the game was going to unfold, and he was like, "Hey, this is why we got you. This is why I got you and here." And he would spread the field out and make, not that we were like major spreading it out, but it was different, and so I think that he's just been super consistent in that since the day we started talking about this, and from this week going into this game of like, let's continue to play the game the way that we're playing it. And I think he's learning every day. We're always learning, but I think as he sees the game plans unfold and the games unfold, he's learning me, and we're learning each other, and I think we're on the right track to understanding as a unit and as an organization kind of where we're wanting to go.
How important is that as a coach, especially a head coach, to not be stubborn, kind of what's worked before? Like, how important is that to evolve as a coach?
Well, I mean, I would think that probably, the old saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And Coach has always been that. When I worked for him before at Arkansas, I mean, he's a visionary, right? I mean, he's always a step ahead of like the calendar, the planning, the week, the opponent. Like he just thinks like that, and that's what's ultimately led him and to big part of his success as a head coach has been because he's got a lot of foresight, and I've seen that about him and appreciate it about him. So I think it's a critical factor. I would say it's probably a fairly common denominator amongst coaches that have been really successful at any level, and he certainly has been consistent in that regard.
Was that the right time to run the sneak, and did you think you dialed up 3 times on Saturday?
Well, I wouldn't anticipated having the ball on the 1-yard line, however many snaps we did, but probably should have gone to a play earlier. Got down there in that really tight area. We had some goal line things we were ready for, and then once we kind of were able to punch the first one in after the penalty, I was like, okay, the next time we get in that situation, we're going right direct, and our guys did a great job. Pilstrom, Tommy, those guys did a really nice job. So that was really huge for us, something that, and we thought going into the game that was something that we could do, that they had, maybe some other people had done on them in short yardage situations, and so certainly didn't anticipate it being, I don't know how many we ran, 4, I think, maybe. But our guys did a great job, and quite frankly, probably, like I said, could have used it probably one play earlier.
How much does that say to your interior offensive line, of how far they've come from earlier in this season? Do you feel confident in running that?
I do, yeah, I do, and even against like an odd structure, the front, when I say odd, I mean like, a nose guard, a really good nose guard at that, to be able to get in there, and all the guys in the gaps, and our guys had good leverage, and I had confidence going in, but that's even higher now coming out of that game because of the way they handled those situations.
On the long run, Coach, it seems like you got some good blocking from the wideouts. Has that been consistent, or is that something you still think needs to improve? And the tight ends too.
Yeah, really the key block on the long Chase's long run was the O-line did a nice job, really nice job. It was Mike Marquez on the backside, kind of tracking his backer through all the way with some speed and kind of trapped him through the hole. That was the block that really sprung that particular run. But our perimeter blocking as a whole has been obviously something that we expect, demand, that George coaches and puts emphasis on a daily basis. And I think our guys have really, I think we've benefited from the mindset from last year and the coach instilled in them about running the ball and how it takes all guys in the perimeter. And we have a nice mixture of that, I think, from what we're asking them to do. It's not like the whole game they have to go out there and just, live on one-on-one block island, where occasionally we throw them, we give them some relief on that to run an RPO or a bubble or a smoke or whatever it might be, to where it's not like the whole game that they're out there, but the mentality that they have showed during the course of the year so far, perimeter block, it hadn't been perfect. I mean, like no player, no coach has been, but man, the strain and the effort's been real consistent.
Seems like Palcho's playing at a really high level, maybe the best we've seen. What stands out about what he's able to accomplish out there?
Well, I would agree with that. I mean, from what Bart told me last year, and just what he feels, I think he's feeling like he's playing his best ball, which is what you need from your more veteran players, right? If you get your most veteran players playing their best ball of their career, it just elevates everybody around them. And I think everybody that has played the game or experienced college or high school football would know that that senior year, it should be your best year. And I'm not saying that to minimize what Palcho's accomplishing and the way he's playing, but to also emphasize when you get that, that has a trickle effect across the line and across all positions, and been really pleased with the way Palcho's been playing for us.
How would you describe how far this wide receiver group has come, from day one, practice to practice, and game to game?
Well, I think I think their confidence is growing, and obviously the effect that they're having on the game is pretty big. And it takes all 11, right? I mean, and I think they feel like that if they're in the game, that the ball could come to them at any given time, any given play. And I think that gives them some confidence to play and some energy and some enthusiasm to play inside of. And I've just been really pleased with them as a whole. I mean, just competing for the ball. I mean, Pat made some contested catches the other day. Brian Casey made a catch that got called back from pass interference, offensive pass or defense pass interference. They didn't get called back. It got canceled out because of that. And so, been really pleased with their progress. Again, the line, there's a lot we got to get better at, starting with me and on down. I mean, we're not even, anywhere near our capacity of the way I think the way we're capable of playing. But those guys have, I think, really have, the last few weeks have played really well.
Okay, Coach Lunney?